every year, Samsung's Ultra's phones get the most hype. They get the best specs, biggest battery, crazy zoom cameras, and an S Pen. But then, there's the S23. It's the smallest and the cheapest phone in their flagship line. And while I'm guilty of just getting the Ultra because it's the best smartphone out, this year I thought I'd give the S23 a try, as I do prefer the rounded edges and the flat panel, something you don't get with the Ultra. And I was honestly surprised with how much I like it. So let's dive in to my review of the S23 and see what this phone has to offer. The Samsung Galaxy S23 has an elegant and sleek design with a glass back and metal frame. And this year, Samsung has streamlined the look of all three models. The Galaxy S22 Ultra was the only phone with separate camera rings at the back, but now we can see the separate camera rings across all models. It's part of Samsung's effort to make smartphones from various market segments consistent. My favorite part about the S23's design is the size and how lightweight it is. I found it comfortable to hold for long periods of time and easy to use with one hand, though this may be in part because I use a case. Without a case, I found the glass on the back to be a bit slippery. So the Galaxy S23 finds a solid compromise, and most people who seek a flagship experience on a phone that can fit in your pocket will like it. The 6.1 dynamic AMOLED display offers vibrant colors, deep blacks, and excellent sunlight visibility, making it a pleasure to use. And with the 120Hz refresh rate, scrolling and animations are really smooth on this phone. So the S23 now has improved brightness and can reach the same max brightness of 1750 nits as the larger variant. And as a result, the display can now produce more accurate colors in direct sunlight, although some color washouts still happen. In this clip, I was sitting in direct sunlight, and while the screen looks very dim, I was still able to see what was on the screen. Now the refresh rate on the S23 is variable, and can only bring the refresh rate down to 48 Hz depending on what's on the screen, while the S23 Ultra goes all the way down to 1 Hz. In daily use, you won't notice this, but it does indicate that the S23 does not have the same efficiency as the S23 Ultra. Samsung has now equipped the S23 with a 3900 mAh battery, which for me gives me battery to last throughout the day. However, keep in mind everyone's usage will vary. And while I did not have the S22, from everything that I've read, the battery life was not able to last throughout the day. So if you're coming from the S22, then you'll see a much needed improvement in battery life in the S23. And while the S23 Plus and the Ultra support 45 watt fast charging, the standard S23 only supports up to 25 watts, so you'll get about 60% in 30 minutes, which has been okay for me. And the standard S23 does have the same overclocked Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip as the Plus and the Ultra, and because of this, it performs just as well in everyday use as the S23 Ultra. I have been using the phone for a few weeks now and have yet to encounter any type of lag or choppiness in my daily use. Gaming performance is sufficient if you're planning on casual gaming on the S23. While I don't do a lot of mobile gaming, I did play some Call of Duty Mobile when evaluating the device. And while I did notice a bit of stutter every now and then when there was a lot going on, for the most part my experience was seamless, so the S23 should have no trouble handling some casual gaming or multitasking. For the camera, there have been no improvements on the S23 or S23 Plus's experience. We still have a 50 megapixel main camera, 10 megapixel 3x optical zoom camera, and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera. However, the front-facing camera has been changed to a 12 megapixel selfie sensor, which Samsung is using across all three Galaxy S23 versions. And while the 50 megapixel doesn't get as detailed shots as the 200 megapixel on the Ultra, you still get some great photos coming out of the S23 even at the 12 megapixel mode. And Samsung smartphone cameras have been known to produce images with higher saturation levels compared to some competitors, resulting in more vibrant and punchy colors. While the levels of saturation is ultimately a matter of personal preference, this characteristic can be particularly beneficial for users who enjoy capturing moments and sharing them directly on social media platforms without much editing. And as far as video shooting, I didn't take a lot of video on the S23. However, overall, I've noticed pretty good stabilization and I was able to capture some smooth videos with some detail. The Galaxy S23 comes pre-installed with Android 13 and Samsung's One UI 5.1. Samsung promises 5 years of ongoing security updates, along with 4 major Android version updates with the Galaxy S23 series. That means the S23 will continue to function through Android 17, which in itself is pretty great. And it will continue to receive security updates through 2028 for any vulnerabilities. So the S23 will last a while if you're the type of person to upgrade every few years. So while the S23 Ultra is arguably the best phone out right now, the S23 offers an excellent alternative for those who can forego the S Pen as well as the longer battery life. In many ways, the S23 strikes a perfect balance between premium features and accessible price point, making it a compelling choice for those who want a high-quality smartphone without breaking the bank. So if you're in the market for a new phone and the S23 Ultra is a bit out of reach, then the S23 might be the perfect fit for you. And as always, I hope this video provides some valuable insights to help you make an informed decision. Thanks for watching, and be sure to share your thoughts on the S23 in the comments below. Bye!